Good morning, dear children and dear parents. I hope you all are doing well and ready for today's session. So, dear children, before we start today's session, let us do a quick recap of what we have done in the last class. Dear children, we have learned about storage units, isn't it? Then we have learned about different memory storage units. So, what are the different memory storage units we have learned about? We have learned about bit, nibble, byte, word, kilobyte, megabyte, gigabyte, terabyte, and finally about petabyte, isn't it? Now, dear children, today we will start new topic, that is memory of a computer. Alright, so first of all, before we start the session, write down today's objective. So, dear children, today's objective is to understand the concept of memory of a computer and types of memory. Alright, so let's start the session. Dear children, memory of a computer is just like a human brain. Why? Because computer memory is the storage space in the computer where data is processed and the instructions required for processing are stored. Okay, now there are basically two types of memory. Okay, number one, primary memory, and number two, secondary memory. So, dear children, today we are going to learn in detail about primary memory and its types. Okay, so what are the characteristics of primary memory? Primary memory or internal memory is the part of the computer which stores data temporarily during execution. Alright, and it has limited capacity and the data is lost when power is switched off. Okay, now as primary memory has limited capacity and data is lost when the power is switched off, primary memory is also known by other name, that is as a volatile memory. Alright, now remember, dear children, it is very important. Primary memory is the working memory of the computer. That means a computer cannot run without primary memory. Now let us learn about the types of primary memory. Okay, now remember, dear children, there are two types of primary memory of a computer. Number one, RAM, and number two, ROM. Okay, now the full form of RAM is random access memory. Okay, again I am repeating, the full form of RAM is random access memory, and the full form of ROM is read only memory. Alright, again I am repeating, the full form of RAM is random access memory and the full form of ROM is read only memory. Okay, so RAM and ROM are the two kinds of primary memory of a computer. Alright, now what is the difference between RAM and ROM? Okay, RAM or random access memory can store data and instructions only when the computer is turned on. Alright, we can read and write data on the temporary memory. Okay, now if the power suddenly goes off, then what happens? All the data stored on it is lost. Alright, so RAM is also known as volatile memory. Okay, now what is a ROM or how ROM is different from RAM? Let us learn about it. ROM or read-only memory stores program and instructions which are required to run the program. Alright, now program stored on ROM can only be read. Okay, ROM holds data permanently and we cannot write on the ROM, as the name says, read only memory. Okay, that means program stored on ROM can only be read but we cannot write on the ROM. Okay, are you clear? So what is the difference between RAM and ROM? RAM is a volatile memory and ROM holds data permanently. Okay, and in RAM we can write and read data, okay, temporarily, but in ROM we can only read, okay, we cannot write. Are you clear? Okay, now dear children, let us learn in details about different types of ROM. Okay, before that, please remember, the information on ROM does not get wiped out when the computer is turned off. Okay, that means suppose you are working on a computer and if the current goes off, the information on ROM does not get wiped out. Okay, understood? Why? Because ROM holds data permanently and the data are stored from before, because we cannot write on it, isn't it? Alright, now let us learn about different types of ROM. Okay, basically there are three types of ROM. Okay, number one, PROM. The full form of PROM is Programmable Read-Only Memory. Okay, the information recorded on PROM cannot be changed. Okay, again I am repeating, the full form of PROM is Programmable Read-Only Memory, and the information recorded on it cannot be changed. Alright, then second type of ROM is EPROM. Okay, EPROM, that means the full form is what? Erasable Programmable ROM. Okay, again I am repeating, EPROM full form is Erasable Programmable ROM. Okay, that means the memory stored in EPROM can be erased by exposing it to ultraviolet light. Okay, again I am repeating, EPROM full form is Erasable Programmable ROM. Okay, now what is the difference between EPROM and PROM? In EPROM, data can be erased by exposing it to ultraviolet light. Okay, and PROM, in which the informations are recorded, cannot be changed or erased. Okay, now next type of ROM, EEPROM. Again I am repeating, third type of ROM is EEPROM, and the full form is Electrically Erasable Programmable ROM. The full form of EEPROM is Electrically Erasable Programmable ROM. Okay, now what is the difference between EEPROM and the last two types of ROM? Okay, the information written on EEPROM can be erased by using electric signals. Alright, you have learned that in PROM, data are recorded and cannot be changed. Then you have learned in EPROM, data can be stored and can be erased by exposing it to ultraviolet light. Alright, whereas in EEPROM, the information written on it can be erased by using electric signals. Okay, so dear children, I hope that the concept of memory of a computer, types of memory and primary memory are clear to all of you, isn't it? So let us do a quick recap or summarization of whatever we have learned today. So we have learned about memory of a computer, which is just like a human brain and is used as a storage space in computer where data is stored and processed, as well as the instruction required for processing are stored. Alright, then we have learned about types of memory. So there are how many types of memory? There are two types of memory. Number one, primary memory, and number two, secondary memory. And we have learned in details today about primary memory, isn't it? So what are the characteristics of primary memory? The characteristics of primary memory are, it is known as internal memory, it is also known as main memory, and it is usually a volatile memory as the data is lost when power is switched off, isn't it? Then we have also learned that primary memory is a working memory of a computer, and the computer cannot run without primary memory, isn't it? Then we have learned about types of primary memory. What are the different types? RAM and ROM, isn't it? What are the different things we have learned about RAM and ROM? We have learned that RAM can store data and instructions only when the computer is turned on, and we can read and write data on the temporary memory, isn't it? And if the power suddenly goes off, all the data stored on RAM is lost, isn't it? So RAM is also known as what? RAM is known as volatile memory. Alright, then we have learned about ROM. ROM stores program and instructions which are required to run the program, and programs stored on it can only be read, isn't it? And it holds data permanently. We cannot write on ROM, isn't it? Then we have also learned that the information on ROM cannot be erased when the power of the computer is turned off, isn't it? Then we have learned about different types of ROM, isn't it? Basically we have learned how many types of ROM? 3 types of ROM. Number 1, PROM, in which informations recorded cannot be changed, isn't it? Then second type we have learned about ROM was EPROM. The memory stored in it can be erased by exposing it to ultraviolet light, isn't it? Then finally we have learned about the third type of ROM, that is EEPROM. That means the information written on EEPROM can be erased by using electric signals, isn't it? Dear children, I hope that the concept of memory of a computer, types of memory and primary memory are clear to all of you. So with this, finally I'll end today's session by saying, dear children, enjoy your online classes. Have a great day ahead. Thank you.